Hi friends, welcome to Life in the Dash Lane. Here in Nova Scotia, our gardens are still heavily producing zucchinis despite the drought that we've had. And today I'm making sweet and smoky zucchini salsa for the very first time with zucchini from our garden as well as homegrown tomatoes. This recipe takes 2 days worth because the vegetables soak overnight in pickling salt, but trust me, the flavor is worth it. So let me show you what I'm doing. As you can probably tell, I am shredding my zucchini. And I used 30 cups of shredded zucchini. I didn't peel it. This recipe comes from the website The Reluctant Entertainer, and their recipe does use peeled zucchini, but I did not peel mine. So as you can see, I am now starting with my peppers. The recipe calls for 6 each of green and red peppers, and I didn't have that many, so I just used what I had, and I'm just chopping them into small chunks. I also had yellow peppers, so I put them in as well, which adds a beautiful color to the salsa. Next year when I make this salsa, I will add more peppers, but honestly, I didn't find that they were missed just using what I had. Now, last year I had so many tomatoes in the garden and I was so busy I didn't have time to deal with them, so I froze them whole. I just cored them but froze them whole, so they are going to thaw overnight. As I'm filming this, it is late. It is 10 o'clock at night and I was so tired, but I wanted to get this part of the recipe done so that the vegetables could sit overnight in the pickling salt. The original recipe calls for 12 small onions or 6 large and shredded. I used a combination of red onion and yellow onion and one Walla Walla onion. As you can see, I was getting teary chopping them. And that's what I did do. I ended up chopping them. I didn't want to shred them. In total, I used 5 red onions, 1 white onion, and 1 Walla Walla onion. And they were more on the medium to large size. Now to cut them, I am using my handy dandy Tupperware chopper and I absolutely love it. And it cuts them super fast and just the perfect size for salsa. This recipe makes quite a lot of salsa, 26 pints in total, so that's a lot of vegetables. So I split the vegetable mixture between my 2 large Tupperware bowls and divided the pickling salt between the two. The recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of pickling salt, so I just put half in each bowl, stirred it all together really well, and put the lids on. Now you just let it sit overnight, do up the dishes, and hit the hay and finish it in the morning. All right, it is the next day and I'm feeling a lot more rested than I did last night when I prepped the zucchini, onions, and peppers for today's salsa. And I am going to press on and get everything put together and canned. I was going to pressure can it simply because it is so hot and our wells are getting dry, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be fine, and there is rain in the forecast to water bath instead. And I just feel like with it, it's supposed to be even hotter today than yesterday. So yesterday it got up to 39 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but here in Canada, that's stinking hot. So it's gonna get even hotter today, and it's still the morning. So if I were using the pressure canner, that's my clock. If I were using the pressure canner, it would take so long for it to come up to pressure, and then to do so many jars, even just using that stove top would keep it way too hot in this kitchen, even with our air conditioning. So I'm gonna go ahead and water bath, and water bathing is only 15 minutes. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm going to get all the veggies in the pot, and I have my jars in the dishwasher on the quick cycle. And then I'll just get everything done. And I'm really excited to try this recipe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fine metal mesh strainer and quickly but thoroughly rinse that salt off of the vegetables. Once that's done, I'm putting my pot onto the stove for the water bath to get it to warm up. Next, I'm taking my tomatoes. There was a lot of water in them, so I did strain some of it. And the recipe calls for 15 to 20 cups of chopped ripe tomatoes, and you leave the skins on. So that's what I did. So of course these are very soft from being in the freezer since last summer when I picked them from the garden. And again, I'm just going to chop them with my food chopper, and they're not going to be as chunky as if they were fresh, but they are going to work just perfectly in this recipe. The day before, I did purchase some fresh field tomatoes in our grocery store that came from Ontario, and I got them on sale. There was absolutely nothing wrong with them. There was one tomato that had a bit of bruising and a bit of a bad spot. A couple little spots like you can see here I did trim off with my knife, but otherwise there was only one tomato that I really had to cut a bit off, and that was this one. Otherwise the tomatoes were perfectly fine. So I was really, really pleased that I got them, and then that's going to give me that little extra bit of chunky texture that I think I can say we all love with our salsa. So I'm just going to chop them up and put them in with the rest of the vegetables. Now I am using 5 large jalapenos. The original recipe called for 10 to 15 jalapenos, but these are really big jalapenos. And if you notice, I did not de-seed them. I kind of thought by not taking the seeds out, I might be making a mistake. They might be too hot. But after I made this salsa and tried it, it was absolute perfection. So I just chopped them all up and, of course, added those with the rest of the vegetables. Now I'm adding 6 cups of white vinegar. You want to make sure that your vinegar is at least 5% when you're canning, and that's what this is. I'm adding some brown sugar. This is the light brown sugar. I'm adding 2 1/4 cups to the pot with all the vegetables and the vinegar. It's time to add the seasonings. 3 tablespoons of dry mustard, 2 tablespoons of chili powder. Next, 3 tablespoons of garlic powder, 3 tablespoons of cumin, and 3 teaspoons of black pepper. One of the secret ingredients in this recipe is liquid smoke. And the recipe calls for 3 tablespoons, and I literally had 3 tablespoons left. So that was perfect because I haven't used this in quite some time. The recipe also calls for 3 to 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. Because I added some extra liquid from the tomatoes, I decided to add 4 tablespoons in total. And then I mixed everything together really, really well. This recipe calls for 2 cups of cilantro chopped. I had 3 bunches and I put one back in the fridge for another time, and I just cleaned my my cilantro. I cut the very tips off, rinsed it really well, and then just chopped it all and put it into my chopper, gave it a pull or 2 or 3, and it wasn't quite fully chopped up, so I put the lid back on and gave it a few more pulls, and then it was absolutely perfect. This little gadget, I'm telling you, it is a huge time saver. I wanted to get every last bit of cilantro out, so I just put a little bit of water in, and that's what you saw me put in the pot. So again, just stir it really, really well. I gave it a little taste as it was. I could have eaten this salsa just as it is. It is so delicious. But moving on to the last ingredient for this salsa is the tomato paste. The recipe calls for 3 12-ounce cans of tomato paste. So once the tomato paste is in, I stirred it really, really well, and then it goes on the stove and you need to simmer it for 15 minutes. But this is such a big pot, it was on the stove longer than 15 minutes because it obviously took time for it to come up to temperature to actually start simmering. So you do want to allow time for that. This is truly a huge pot of salsa. I am really, really glad I did not half the recipe because I was debating it. But I'm telling you guys, this was so delicious. I am so, so glad I made the full batch. So I don't have me filming the first few batches of salsa that I canned, but I will show you the process. Most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with canning, but some of you aren't. This is how we all learn, right? I did move my jars from the dishwasher into my oven. I put the oven on for just a few minutes to keep them really, really hot, and then I just turned it down. So you can see here, I'm pulling out my jars because hot jars, hot liquid going into the hot water bath. So you want to make sure everything is hot. So here I am just filling up my pint jars. You want to leave an inch head space, and then you want to make sure that the rims are really, really clean. Otherwise, you're not going to get a seal. So I just kept filling up the jars, wiped them, put on my seals. My seals and my rings are also in a bowl, as you can see, of hot water. And then I put them in my water bath and I brought the temperature up. Once it started boiling, I timed 15 minutes. I did put my salsa back on the stove to keep it hot until I was ready to start jarring up some more. I decided to do some half pints as well as pints. In total, I got 22 pints and 12 half pints. I am so pleased. All right, my friends, I am ready to give this a try. I put a little bit of the salsa in a dish to cool off. It smells so good. I'm really anxious to try this. Seriously, wow. By the way, I would be using tortilla chips if I had some. I don't. So my sweet husband always calls me as he's leaving town from work to see if I need anything brought home, and I will definitely be asking him, can you please pick up some tortilla chips? But you guys, I am shocked at how delicious this is. Even those people who say they don't like zucchini, they're not even going to realize there's zucchini in this, 100%. I would be very surprised. And I was a little bit worried that the seeds from the jalapenos that I kept in might have made it too spicy, or maybe not spicy enough, and I had some red Thai chilies. So I thought, well, if I need to, I can put them in. No, this to me is going to be the perfect heat level, because don't forget, as this sits, it's going to blend and those flavors are gonna come out even more, right? And I am beyond tickled. This is actually going to replace my favorite salsa recipe that I've been making for years, which I still love. But if I'm going to be going through all the prep and time involved in making the salsa, or a salsa, this is going to be my go-to, especially when you have tons of zucchini. But if you guys are interested in my other recipe for salsa that I've been making for years and years that doesn't have zucchini, leave a comment down below and I will show you how to make that, because I am going to have more tomatoes, hopefully, in my garden this year if we get some rain. I tell you what, I'll be gobbling this up, no problem at all. I am so pleased with this. Delicious. And the liquid smoke is not a strong flavor. It's just subtle, and it's there, and it's amazing. And I can't wait to let this sit and try it you know, in a month or so once the flavors have done their mingling. So that's it for me, friends. I am going to put the air conditioner back on. I turned it off so it wouldn't be too loud in the background when I'm talking with you. And I'm gonna finish up because the timer is going to go off in 5 minutes. So I want to have the next batch of jars ready to go. And then I'm gonna have an iced tea and sit in the shade in our gazebo. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and leave a comment. Let me know again if you're interested in my other salsa recipe that doesn't have zucchini and everybody raves. It is really delicious. So until next time, my friends, take care, and remember, life is short, so make the most of that dash in between. See you next time. I loved this salsa so much it earned a place in my treasured possession, my custom-made leather-bound cookbook. That's where only my very best recipes go, and this one definitely made the cut. If you enjoyed this video, it would mean the world to me if you'd hit the subscribe button and join me here on Life in the Dash Lane for more recipes, garden goodness, and seasonal living inspiration.